All right, folks, check this out. I have some pretty stunning updates to share with you on the story surrounding Charlie Kirk, his killing, and of course, the aftermath of that event. And I'll start off this video by saying a lot of these updates I'm about to go through with you are pretty strange. They're pretty weird, out of the ordinary. You'll see what I mean in just a second, but there's two major things I want to go over with you. Number one, the fact that people around Charlie Kirk, his friends, are leaking text messages they had with him on social media. They're either posting them in reaction to current events or just including them in videos that they're uploading online. So we're going to go through some of these text messages, and then later we're going to look at this pretty stunning article in the New York Times where a member of the Trump administration who was sworn in over the summer was given access to files surrounding the investigation with Charlie Kirk. We're going to go over all of this. I'm excited to do so. There's a lot of information here, but before we do that, make sure to subscribe to the channel down below. Drop a like on the video, comment. Let me know what you think about the story. Of course, I've gotten a lot of MAGA trolls recently because Donald Trump and JD Vance attacked me on social media, so your support joining here, allowing me to continue to get under their skin, means the world. But without further ado, let's just start with some of these text messages. This is from Dinesh D'Souza, one of the guys that really pushed the stolen election theory in 2020, which of course was total BS. He was one of Donald Trump's top dogs for spreading that lie. He posted on Twitter just today, actually, or excuse me, yesterday, I should say, saying, quote, "I'm posting two text exchange with Charlie Kirk where he calls Nick Fuentes vermin and insists even my debating him and defeating his arguments nevertheless amplifies him. Only one can imagine what Charlie would say about Tucker's butt-licking interview with Fuentes." Now, this was in response to Tucker Carlson having far-right extremist, lunatic, hateful, bigoted loser Nick Fuentes on his podcast. They did a 2-hour episode together. The episode did go pretty viral with 13.9 million views on Twitter alone. And so Dinesh D'Souza posted these messages with Charlie Kirk, where Kirk was talking about Nick Fuentes. He said, "This was a massive mistake that you did this. He's vermin, and you just gave him one of the biggest boosts of his career." And so Dinesh D'Souza is posting this in response to that podcast. He also included these ones saying, "You have no idea the damage you did by talking to him and complimenting him. You are making him even bigger. We've been fighting this guy for 6 years, and you're the first mainstream voice to debate him and give him a compliment, which then makes him bigger and more powerful." He said, "I'm getting a ton of this. As a younger guy myself, was amazing to hear from your experience." I don't know where Dinesh D'Souza is getting the idea that he's younger. I mean, look at the state of this guy. You know, he's Looney Tunes. He's Looney Tunes. But regardless, yeah, he's just leaking these text messages in response to the podcast. And I guess he's using this as a point to go against Nick Fuentes. But the reason they're against Nick Fuentes is separate from the reason you should actually be against Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes is hateful. He's a total loser. He's bigoted. He has these insane ideas where he targets people based on their identity. That's why I, as a Democrat, am opposed to somebody like Nick Fuentes. The Republicans, like Charlie Kirk and Dinesh D'Souza, are opposed to Nick Fuentes because they don't want him taking over the conservative movement because of some of the things in the past that he said. They don't really call him out for his hate. They don't get online and say, yeah, Nick Fuentes targeting groups of people is wrong. They just don't want his ideology taking over the conservative movement. So there's some pushback a little bit on his extreme ideas, but not enough. Not enough from the Republican side. And here's some more I want to show you. This was posted by Candace Owens. Candace Owens with her text messages with Charlie Kirk. She uploaded this in some videos she's posted recently. He said, "You're going to be the Iron Lady of America. I see it so freaking clearly. I might be Moses, though. I might not see this whole thing through, LMAO. If that's the case, be my David." Candace Owens said, "Dude, you don't even realize your power yet." He said, "If I tell you the true prophecy I know in my gut, it's really sad, but I hope I'm wrong." Which these text messages, I gotta be honest, are kind of eerie in hindsight. Kind of seems like he's predicting something that might happen to him. So kind of eerie in hindsight, of course. And then he continues by saying, "Anyway, I'm not sure if I'll live to see the end of this revolution. I believe you were the peace God meant me to meet that will finish the fight. Since the beginning of Turning Point USA, I knew in my gut that I might get wiped out at any time. I cannot explain it, but I dream about it all the time, like all the time. Anyway, that's depressing convo for another time. That's so weird," she said. "More I fear manifestation than an actualization. Not really afraid of it, but I'm just telling you what I know to be true." So again, kind of eerie, I will say, in hindsight. And it's also a little strange that Candace Owens is posting that. I think these Republicans And I, of course, didn't like Charlie Kirk. I've disagreed with him on every issue. But these Republicans, after the fact, kind of leaking text messages with him seems a little tasteless to me. And she also posted these where he was listening to Kanye West and his album called My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. And this song Monster, I guess, on it. You can read some of this here. It was just, these are just kind of weird if I'm being transparent with you. He's just talking about music. And Candace Owens is leaking these text messages. Again, kind of tasteless in my view. But regardless, that's what's going on with the Republicans and the influencers. They're leaking their text messages with Charlie Kirk, whether it be about Fuentes or music or even him predicting his own demise. But this is where the story really gets weird. Officials' access to FBI files in the Charlie Kirk case drew pushback. An inquiry by Joe Kent, who leads the National Counterterrorism Center, is said to have alarmed Kash Patel, the FBI director. The head of the National Counterterrorism Center examined FBI files in the last several weeks to investigate whether the man charged with assassinating Charlie Kirk had support from someone else, a foreign power, or another entity. The inquiry by Joe Kent, the director of the Counterterrorism Center, alarmed Kash Patel, and he's obviously the director of the FBI, and other senior officials believed Mr. Kent was overstepping, treading on FBI responsibilities, and potentially interfering with the investigation. But supporters of Mr. Kent said he was doing his job, running down leads and making sure no foreign or domestic groups were linked to Kirk's death. This is an emphasis in this article, you'll see as we go through it, that the head of the Counterterrorism Center, Kent, was really convinced that there was some foreign assistance in the murder of Charlie Kirk. Now, I'll be clear that we have no evidence of that, but in the direct aftermath of the shooting, he went right to work, or I should say the Trump admin went right to work investigating foreign connections, which, again, I'm not a law enforcement guy, I never served in the FBI, but seems a little strange that that was like a prevailing theory or something they really put a lot of time into. Robinson is accused of killing Kirk last month when he was appearing on a college campus in Utah. The Senate confirmed Mr. Kent as a director of the Counterterrorism Center in July. He's one of the closest advisors to Tulsi Gabbard and shares her focus on traditional terrorism groups as well as drug cartels. Patel was troubled that Mr. Kent had gone through FBI material related to the case. Kent's efforts were a topic at a White House meeting that included Mr. Patel, Mr. Kent, and his direct supervisor, Ms. Gabbard. Top DOJ officials, Vice President J.D. Vance, and the White House Chief of Staff were also there. The people interviewed by the Times were granted anonymity to speak about this. The FBI and the DOJ generally keep tight control over evidence in criminal cases, particularly when they're preparing for a trial in which government documents may have to be turned over to the defense and could be used to poke holes in the prosecution's case. Now, Robinson's only facing state charges. Some admin officials were concerned that Kent's efforts could provide fodder to defense lawyers who could use the notion that more than one person was involved in Kirk's killing to raise reasonable doubt in the minds of jurors. So it seems like members of Trump's own admin are kind of weakening their case. I think the case is obviously very strong. I don't really see a strong defense for Tyler Robinson at all. It's pretty blatant. But the senior members of the admin are concerned that maybe they're giving him an argument to make. Since Kirk's death, some White House officials have pressed for sweeping federal investigations of liberal groups and donors, and some of the president's allies outside the admin are convinced that the killing is part of a broader plot, despite a lack of evidence there. Of course, there is a lack of evidence there. Nobody has provided anything on the matter. Kent told administration officials that a lower-level FBI official had granted him access to the agency's files, which Mr. Patel said that he was not aware of. So that in and of itself right there is a pretty crazy short paragraph. The fact that someone that's kind of low in the FBI, low-level official, was just kind of handing out access to people who asked to files relating to Kirk. In response to questions from the Times, Patel and Gabbard pretended that they're in a unified way, that they have a unified front. And they said the FBI and the intelligence community, under the direction of Trump, will leave no stone unturned. But multiple people said tensions over Kent's work had persisted for some time. And here's the paragraph I want you to see before we wrap up briefly. In the hours after Mr. Kirk's killing, before Mr. Robinson was identified as the suspect, officials across American intelligence agencies were investigating whether any foreign government was involved in the plot. So pretty crazy. And there's more to that article, but those are kind of the significant portions. That's why I'm saying, like, It just seems like this story continues to get weirder by the day. Text messages are being leaked. We're learning that the FBI was looking at possible foreign connections to the shooting, and that people who shouldn't have access to the documents have access to the documents, and that even made someone like Kash Patel concerned. I don't know, just very weird. But I wanted to show you all this information, and I will continue to track this story for you. And if there are major updates like this, I will bring them to you when I have them. So thank you so much for watching the video. I appreciate you being here. Make sure to subscribe to the channel down below. It goes an incredibly long way. Drop a like on the video, comment, let me know what you think about this story. And as I always say, I greatly appreciate you, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.